Call the meeting to order. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'd like to thank you all for attending. First item of business is approve the minutes from the June 5th meeting. I think Andrew emailed them out. If there's any questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion one way or the other.
I'll move we accept the minutes.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and second on the floor. Andrew, go ahead and call roll.
Motion on the floor to approve the June 5th, 2023 meeting minutes. Dick?
Yes.
Carrie?
Yes.
Tyson?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Bryan?
Yes.
Motion carried, minutes approved.
All right, the next item on the agenda is rezoning from R1 to I2 at 530 West Bryan Street. Andy, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, if you look at the map here, the lot in question is this big one right here. Back in the early 2000s, this actual whole area was zoned C1. We cleaned that up to get everything in compliance. Had to change some of the hospital zoning so it conformed because it really didn't fit into a C1. During that time, that lot got made into an R2. It is currently just a stone parking lot now. Had several issues with the previous owner on uses of that lot, using it as a kind of a supply yard for his business, which didn't really conform. Mr. Yoder ended up purchasing that lot, and he would like to construct a business services building for his mechanical and fab shop. Notices were sent out, 250-foot radius. I did not receive any calls on this one. At this time, Brad, Chastity, you have anything you'd like to add?
It's going to be probably 80 by 100.
Coming up to the microphone. Yes. Yeah, that's.
Wasn't really prepared.
And it's basically just gonna be an office and warehouse, correct? Just
Pretty
store?
much, yes, and fabrication.
Okay.
How many vehicles do you think will sit outside in the parking area?
It just depends on how many jobs we have, honestly, because like at one point when we were doing the bit of honey job for Spanglers, we had probably about 7 different vehicles probably there. I mean, we're not a huge contractor, but you know, it's always going to be probably less than 10, I would say. And that's probably being generous, probably more like 5 to 7.
And how about like overnight parking of vehicles? Do you have any like service trucks would stay there, or was that?
We have like trailers, utility vehicles and stuff like that that would.
Okay.
Andy, forgive me if you've already stated it, I didn't catch it, but do you know what the lot size is now? Off the top of your
It's
head?
approximately 100 by 300.
Yeah, I wanna say it's 100 foot of frontage. Seems like there's 2 50-foot lots there. As far as depth, I'm not sure.
It's about 280.
Okay.
What does that equate to? I see under the minimum lot area, it's 2 acres for I2.
For an I2.
In addition, is there any reason we go to heavy industrial I2 rather than a I1, light industrial?
I think we try and stay away from spot zoning. We try and zone it with something that's adjacent to it.
Okay.
You know, and then just restrict what can happen there for the most part. It just gives us a little more control. You know, you don't want to have
Yeah.
like an R3
Right.
in the middle of an R1 neighborhoods.
I guess another option we could look at here, which I don't think they're opposed to it, would be a use variance. If we wanted to do it just for his business, that way if they moved out, nothing else could come in there, they would have to come to us if something industrial wanted to go back in there.
I guess that's my concern is that once it's zoned heavy industrial,
Right.
and if you folks decide sometime in the future to do something different, then it opens the door for anyone to do whatever.
I will say, if this does get approved either way today, when you go to build the building, you will have to come back before us with a site development plan to address what the site is going to look like.
Sure.
So,
And up to that point, we still, I mean, you're saying that we approve today, but they gotta come back to us at that point, can we tell them no or no?
I don't think
No.
that'd be wise.
That's what I'm saying, and
Right.
I almost would like to see the
We're spending
layout.
a lot of money.
Right.
At that
Yeah.
point to hear no.
so,
I think that's part of though, my concern is what is it gonna look like? Because it is a residential and it's turning into industrial. So for me, that's why I was kind of asking about vehicles and size of building.
If it's 100 by 300, you know, I'm going to assume, you know, and I know what assumptions do.
Well, that's
but-
the lot.
That's a lot size.
Yeah, but I mean, if you got
100 by
80 by 100, I'm gonna assume, you know, the
10 foot
narrow
each side.
portion, exactly. So does that affect any, like, setback or anything you have?
so I have not looked as far as the site. First hurdle is,
Make sure they can build
Can
in
they
here.
build?
Right. Yeah, and the development plan
Yeah,
review
we
then
understand
addresses
that too. It's-
neighborhood complaints as far as like, you know, landscaping, trees, how far off the property lines.
Well,
This
right
is-
now, it's just dumped concrete, weeds, it's hard to mow
It's a-
because it's a kind of a mess.
It's a jungle. It's
if
So-
you're familiar with the site, anything is going to be an improvement to what
Yes.
is there now.
Yeah, we're gonna make the
10 foot each
front
side,
look-
okay.
you know,
If we're gonna put this much money in it, it's gonna be
It's
aesthetically
gonna be a nice looking
pleasing.
building, especially, you know, the front. It's gonna be a nice entrance. I'm not gonna put some
Right.
eyesore there. And I've talked to the surrounding neighbors, I think the ones that had the issues, I personally talked to them, and they like the idea.
How tall is the building?
Excuse me?
How tall, the height, like, do you know how high it's gonna
Maybe
be?
16?
The eaves will probably no more than 16 feet.
So with the rezoning, that ultimately goes to city council, and then they would do their 1, 2, or 3 readings on it for approval. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, but a use variance just stays here, correct?
Correct. Use variance, we would have the final say.
My concern for you guys though is if you do a use variance, then you really can't sell it.
Right, that's what my next question was about that, because I know I asked Andy about it, and he said we could discuss it here.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I
you-
wasn't really sure what.
You can sell it, I mean, it's just if the building changes use to an ice cream shop or something, they have to come back here and get permission to do that. That's what Andy mentioned, the zoning changes a few years, well, 20 years ago.
Unless it's a fabrication shop,
Yeah.
they would have to come back here.
Right.
So if we would pass this down to our children and they would take over, it
I,
would be.
I think that stays the same,
As long
same
as the
business.
use
As long
stays
as
the
it's
same.
Still a fabrication.
Yeah, basically, you're locked in, if we do the use variance, you're locked into a fab shop or demo it and whatever fits in an R2. So the zoning would stay the same, you just got a variance to change the use to your business services building.
So say we put a building up, retire, and then we just keep it as our building and don't sell it, that's same or no?
What are you gonna use it for?
I don't know. I'm just trying
Yeah,
to
if you
figure out
change
all
the use of
scenarios.
what
So
you're
if
doing there.
we were to retire and then it would be just more like where we keep our storage, indoor storage.
If you turned it into personal storage, I don't have any heartburn.
No.
I'm just trying to figure out all scenarios because, you know, we don't know.
That's like Bryan said, if you were changing it to a use that is gonna generate
Right.
a lot more traffic
Right.
and noise,
Or have
Right.
different kind of.
Drastic
based on an
change.
RTA.
Drastic change that would affect the neighborhood. That's, so.
And we've done use variances before,
Yeah.
in instances like this, where it's on the fringe of an adjacent zoning, and it's.
Correct.
It gives the city a little more control. You know, and the property owner may worry a little bit about it, but, you know, as long as the business is within reason, the planning commission usually has a pretty good heart about it. You know, we've had houses that are in commercial districts that burn down and they can't rebuild. They have to come back and, you know, get a variance, use variance to rebuild the house on a residential lot that was zoned commercial. So, you know, I mean, there's some understanding here with the planning commission on that as well.
But that's not what they actually fill paperwork out for.
Correct, correct. They filled it out for a
Rezoning.
rezone.
Well,
Which we had the conversations, we're gonna do this as rezoning, but we can also look at use variance, so.
it's technically supposed to be marked both, but.
I didn't want to confuse people.
I know.
Put it in the
I
paper
know.
and, yeah. I mean, we've done it before where we've had rezoning requests and we end up granting use variance, so.
I guess, is there any public comment? Any adjacent, Mr. Mannon? You,
Jerry.
Just wondering about the truck thing, as far as semis, when that steel brought in, because that road, like, West Bryan, is not for cruise street.
Right now, about one truck a day, might bring a couple boxes for UPS, so, no, not,
Nothing here.
And we do have, like, so we order, like, our, piping, our stainless piping and stuff. Most of our, 95% of our work we do is for Spangler Canning Company. So there are, you know, we're there mostly, but, we would probably use that back area as our main entrance. So they wouldn't be going through that front where there's,
yeah, that'd be.
because it would make no sense to have to get a truck back around there. So we would go in that back parking, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
I just wanted to say the street is not pretty.
Right, and I would agree, and that would be our main entrance. The front will be more aesthetic for like an office space, look more residential, if that makes sense. Where in the back would be like the main, where the trucks and all.
Use variance.
yeah, I think we're probably.
I would say you wouldn't notice it.
Yeah, that's what I.
Anybody else in the public have any questions or comments?
What about the value of our property?
I don't have an answer for that.
That's all residential. I live right there. And I've been working good money in my house. When I want to sell it, I don't want the value to go down because of it.
Yeah, I don't have an answer on property values. I wouldn't think it would affect it very much at all, because it sounds like it'll be a decent building.
Probably improve it.
Right.
I know you don't know us personally, but there's a few people here that have been by our house lately, and we take great pride in the things that we own. And so we respect that, and we would make sure that it was like kept clean, and it would be, you know, we're not for sure saying that we're gonna do this, because we've looked at it, and it's gonna cost us probably, what was the quote, $500,000 to build a building. So we're not like, yes, we're doing this tomorrow. It's gonna take time, and we have to make sure it's right for us and our family and our business, so.
But it's not gonna be nice.
You'll see the airport, where they put one of those houses in there for people. And that thing, instead of manufacturing.
Well, you own the property right now, correct?
Correct.
Correct?
Yeah, and you bought it from the previous owner that was kind of using it as a construction dumping truck.
Yes, ma'am.
And we got constant complaints and tried to deal with that on that end. And my question is, how was the dumping ground happening if it was a residential zone?
Well, we would send citation
I
letters.
send them citation letters and he kept doing it.
He actually went to court on it. He went to court on it
Court
once.
on it.
Yeah. Yep, went to court and had to clean it up.
I mean,
So-
I'm sure you've noticed we've cleaned a lot of the brush, and there was just big logs, trees that were cut down and left out there. We cleaned that
Concrete,
up.
you name it, it was there.
It's not completely because we don't know what we're doing exactly, and we're not gonna put that much money in it if it's not gonna be, yeah, we have started to clean it up some, so.
So I guess just for conversation, we have the request for a rezone, so we can either approve or deny the rezone. And, you know, if we approve it, fine, it goes to council for 3 readings. If we opted to deny the rezone, we could then offer a use variance in its place of that. And if they didn't like the use variance and preferred the rezone, if we denied it, then they could go through the appeals process to get it rezoned. That way it gives them options as well.
And the appeals process goes to council.
Goes to Board of Zoning Appeals
Okay.
right now.
I'll just interject. I have a problem probably rezoning it because he says 1 to 2 trucks. And I do think about the people around me. If I lived there, what would I feel like if this was happening? 1 to 2 trucks for you guys, but if it gets rezoned, then the people who they may sell it to someday,
Right.
end up 5 or 6 trucks or semis going down there. And maybe these people don't even live there any longer, but the next people have to deal with that if it stays residential around you. So I'm more inclined to go with the variance.
Yes.
I mean, I understand it's a lot to put into a building when you're talking those kind of numbers for something that,
Right.
you know, set in stone for you on the use case.
And again, it's not a bad thing. The planning commission leans a lot towards use variances rather than rezoning, just for that, just for the long-term protection. Yeah, I mean, I've built a building on my farm before. I thought I was going to use for a storage building. We turned it into something completely different, you know.
Right.
You know, it's just totally different,
It's
so.
difficult us to decide something like this also without seeing, what is it going to look like in the end? And I mean, I can understand from your point of view, putting a bunch of money and going and getting plans, and, that's a lot of money to put up front when you don't even know that you're even going to get it approved. So, put an 80 by 100 building on that lot size, that does, that's why I ask height, 16 feet, when you're tight to your neighbors, what's this going to look like and what kind of room do you have beside them? I just try to look at it from the public standpoint. So, variance, I'd be more inclined to go that
I would be
route.
too.
I think we do have to consider there are 2 property owners that are here,
Absolutely.
and
Out of what, 4 or 5 other lots? I mean, so
Right.
That's almost 50%.
yeah, it's half of the neighbors. So the question is, would a use variance be more reasonable for you? Because you know that they're going to be using it for that, and if anyone were using it for anything different, they would have to come back to the city. I know, even though it was violating.
7 years, Carol used to park the cars there.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not really a big deal.
Okay.
As long as they take care of the property, that's all I need.
What is the little white house?
Hey, ma'am, I hate to ask you, but I need you to come up here to the microphone, because we record these meetings. I hate to ask you to do that, but we just need to record it for the public. I'm sorry.
Is it possible?
There's a White House next to that lot, and if it's in not very good condition right now, it's a rental, but if that, say, would get torn down, so would another business, another manufacturer want to come in there and build something?
But it could happen anywhere in the city.
I mean,
Same thing could
we could end
happen.
up with not just one, but 2
No,
or
they-
3 or 4 places.
The fortunate thing with it, that lot is a small lot. It would only be a 50-foot lot. So it'd be tough to build a manufacturing on one lot. This just so happens to be a large lot.
Yeah, it
That, as
is a
Mr. Mannon
large
said,
lot.
has been open for as long as he can remember with parking and whatnot as an industrial use. So, I wouldn't think that if one house got tore down, somebody would build industrial in there, but could be an expansion of
It's
this
a
business
start.
too. Right, correct.
Hey, could you pull up like Google Maps and pull up street view so we can see what it looks like out front? It's kind of crazy
Because I do
request,
think, the lot is in terrible disarray right now, and I know the owners won't leave it like that, so it would be an
Some of those maps are still
improvement to
from
your
2013.
neighborhood.
Yeah, I know they're
understand
old, but it'll give you a
your
gist of what it
concerns about
looks like.
industrial use.
Let's go to maps.google.com.
It was pulling up.
You want street view?
Yeah, drop load person on there.
You what now?
Grab
Just
that guy.
Grab the guy in the lower right corner.
you'll see a click on him and just pull him over to.
Pull them over, drop them on the road, there you go. And then you can pan it to the right. You can actually just click and hold and turn. There you go. I can't read the date in the upper left corner, Andy.
That's not my truck.
I was gonna say.
That's the neighbors, use it a lot.
October 2013.
Okay, 2013, I thought they were old.
The tower looks nicer too.
Yeah.
Do you think you'd have an entrance in and out like that is, or will you make it one? Do you even know, can you plan that far ahead?
Probably on that right side is where we would go in and out. Kind of like that.
Not the two in the front, is that what you were asking?
Yeah.
Not the two in the front, no.
Right, just on the right side there. And then probably just make it so we can drive all the way through the back parking lot. I believe their garage is on the property line.
Yeah.
Say, it's really close.
I was told it sets on our property,
So,
but the owner told me that.
So if they're that tight to the property line and you guys, I mean, let's say you center your building at an 80, you got about 10 feet clearance in there, that's not a problem for the fire department at all.
No, we've got access to that, as long as we've got the LA access to that.
Mm-hmm. Is that something where you could look at maybe truck traffic coming from the backside or Baker Street side, maybe even coming down the alley, or no? I mean, is that going to make too much of a headache for you guys? Just out of curiosity, because I mean, as Mannon said, I believe, you know,
We would try to make them come from the north.
the Bryan Street side, I know that road's rough.
Yeah, I think you said before they were gonna try and use the parking lot, since most of the work is with Spangler.
And the 80 feet, I mean, that would, more than likely, I went big,
Yeah.
said 80.
In the end, dollar bills might
Well,
take that number down a
Yeah,
little
well,
bit.
have it 80, but
The
60.
state may have setbacks too, you know, they may require 20 foot off an adjacent building. It's hard to say.
So 60 by 100 is realistic.
Yeah.
I know, you don't want to say that and then come back and say, well, we're going to do an 80 and then,
That's exactly why I said 80.
well, we all take notes.
Well, do we have any thoughts on what you guys,
I'll make a motion that we deny the request for the rezoning from R2 to I2. Is that correct?
okay, yep. There's a motion on the floor to deny the rezoning request from R2 to I2. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Andrew?
okay, motion on the floor to deny the rezoning request. Dick?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Gary? Tyson?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Okay, then based on that, do we want to offer anything to the
Yes.
to the people? Okay.
Does it go as a recommendation?
No,
or
no, we
a,
would actually.
Motion.
Yeah, we'd make a motion to.
Okay. I will make a motion that, in view of the circumstances, we propose a use variance for that particular lot in question.
For use variance for a mechanical and custom fab shop.
Correct.
Yes.
Business services.
Business services, there you go. Yep.
Second motion.
All right, we have a second by Jack. Any further discussion on that?
You don't
Andrew?
understand where that with the use, do you guys know where that, do you understand that part of the process with the use variance versus the rezoning?
I believe so.
Yeah, the use variance is basically effective immediately. A rezone would have to go to city council for potential readings. So basically, if this motion passes, you could proceed with your plans and get going
And
on.
we would just bring the plans to you when we're ready.
Work with Andrew.
Yep.
Yep. So Andrew, you want to go ahead and call roll?
Okay, motion on the floor to approve a use variance for business services. Dick?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Gary? Tyson?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Motion carried. Variance approved.
So do neighbors get letters too for site development plans?
Oh, yeah.
So ma'am, when the next hearing is with the site development, you'll also get letters for that as well, so that you can come up and see what they're planning, if that makes you more comfortable. Okay?
If somebody decided to put apartment complex in there, would that be doable or not?
Yeah,
No,
because
you can only do a duplex.
Just a duplex?
Because it's R2, you can only do a duplex.
R3 would be apartment complex. There's a
Duplex max.
Right.
Yes.
Okay,
Oh, I know.
thank you.
That's why I asked that question.
It doesn't bring in as much money though.
I know, that's the problem, that math on housing.
All right, we'll move on to, thank you very much. We'll move on to item 3, rezone from R2 to C3, 317 West Butler Street. Andrew, at your convenience.
All right. We get in the right neighborhood here.
Maybe.
Maybe. All right, this is for 317 West Butler, Paul and Cheryl Combs. This would be the old Christmas Manor. Back in 2009, these two lots were actually C3. They had since been rezoned to R2 to meet their current use. The Combs recently purchased the property and they would like to renovate the existing house and turn it into an art studio slash art gallery. Like I said once before, this was C3. And Paul, do you want to come up and go through your presentation you prepared for us here?
You don't wait for me to click through it, or do you want to do it, or?
I can do it.
Okay,
Yeah, we don't have a clicker.
okay. Yeah, so we're proposing to turn this back into a commercial property. The vision of this, again, we want to inspire a lot of young artists. Bryan has a great culture here for training artists in school, but once they leave, there's really no professional arts culture here in Bryan. And we really want to foster that with this. My wife and I have loved this house since it was Christmas Manor. And so now that it was back on the market, we kind of seized on an opportunity to turn this into something special. So we've got a presentation here that kind of walks you through what we've got planned. Again, we're going to provide a place for art exhibits to inspire artists, but also to curate some art exhibits as well. This is going to be a revolving show. We'll talk about it here in a second about what we're going to do on the different floors, but to also have juried shows for the young artists of the community, also with the professionals. Okay, so the restoration of this, we're doing some aesthetic changes to the property. We're not doing any structural changes to the interior or the exterior. Okay, the critical repairs to that back building, there are a lot of holes in it right now, which are causing a lot of leakage issues. So we've got quotes, and we're going to be repairing that. Upgrade of the interior walls and trim. Again, we're not tearing down anything. We're just restoring what's already there, kind of leaving the beauty that was created in 1874. The second floor will be my personal studio space. We're going to become as ADA as accessible as possible. We are going to install a ramp over onto the east side of the structure. We're also building a second bathroom into the main floor of it. There's a large closet that is the perfect space for an additional bathroom. So we're going to create 2 bathrooms within the structure. We're going to fortify the basement. The foundation is fantastic, but there are some sagging issues that can be repaired with just some jacks. So that's really the only thing we're doing to that, and then refurbishing that back building into a workshop and art prep framing area. This will be private. This is not going to be open to the community. So we don't have to deal with the fire code issues there because it's not going to be an assembly area. And then refurbish the main back area and clean up the storage for maintenance. Because there is, I'm not sure how familiar you are with that back building, there used to be a pool different things back there. A lot of that is still there. There's just a hard floor platform put on top of it. But the garage and storage area, all that is still there. We're just going to kind of clean that up and refurb it to what we need. So the first floor is going to be a for-profit art gallery. The second, all right, in an exhibit for regional artists. The second floor, again, is going to be private studio space, will be the gallery office, as well as some storage area. In that back building, again, this is where, when we do the transition between art shows, we'll have a place to go back and prep. There'll be some framing, matting area back there. There's a photograph later, but the Davies actually had a second room built into that back building. Once we get the roof repaired, we'll be able to fix some of the leak areas there, and then that room will be the storage and prep area for the gallery. So this is we have some before and after photos for you. This is the before, this is the way the structure looks now. Again, going to the next. We're not doing much in the way of changes except for cleaning up some of the landscaping. We are going to put a small sign out front. Next one. The east side of the building, really all we're doing there, again, cleaning up, and we're adding on a ADA accessible ramp that will go into the back entryway. And you can see it there. The parking lot that we have there is already there. It's just grass covered. So we're just going to kind of clean that up and add a little bit of parking there, keep that handicap accessible as well. So if folks want to come up, they can get onto that ramp and be able to have access to the gallery as well. So the first floor layout of this, again, nothing has changed here other than we're adding the handicap accessible ramp. That back building, the segments that you see there are there now. We're just kind of cleaning this up and making this a little bit more accessible and a little bit more what we call dirty art, clay, woodworking, things that make a mess when you're doing it. That's what that back room is going to be used for. We do have some local artists in the area that have come to me, and as we're learning about running a gallery, that they have actually had to turn down commissioned work because they don't have a space where they can do large paintings or work, and they would love an opportunity to come in on a one-on-one basis. Again, this is not going to be assembly. We're not going to have groups of people in here, but where they can come in maybe and do this type of art and have that kind of space. So it's something that we would love to be able to offer them. Go to the second floor. The second floor, again, nothing really changes here, except the bedrooms become my studio space. There's a gallery space there. And then the old laundry and the service quarters of this house become storage and a photography room. Okay, so again, some before and afters. This is the front room facing north as it looks right now. And just some repainting, cleaning up of the floors. That's all really we need to do here. The lighting is probably the biggest thing that we're going to be changing throughout this. So there's some old chandeliers, that sort of thing. So we'll be going in and doing some different lighting just so it's more accessible for an art gallery. The next room in, you can probably switch through these pretty quickly. So again, just some aesthetic changes is really all we're proposing here. We don't want to lose the charm of the house. The bones there are fantastic, and we just want to accentuate that and kind of bring that back to that 1874 beauty. These are some photographs of that back building. The one on the upper right is that, well, we're going to call it a utility room, but it's the family room that the Davies had built into that building. The building itself is, I think, is roughly 45 by 60. Again, the bones are great with this. It just needs some work on the exterior, and we've already got that quoted out, and we'll just need to sign the quote and get that started. So those are just kind of the before and after photographs of what we're trying to propose here. The Dora of this stops at the alley before the structure. We are not proposing to change that. We see no need that we need to serve alcohol in the gallery. So there's no change in that. As far as traffic goes, on any opening night, we could probably have 25 to 30 people in the gallery at any given time. But normal operating hours, you're probably only talking maybe 3 to 4 couples a week. There's just not that much traffic with an art gallery. So there's not going to be a lot of traffic there. No more than probably what you would see at Father John's on a Friday or Saturday night.
I hope you have 100.
I
Well, we do
know.
too,
Love
but
to have the
it's
people
all-
downtown.
yeah.
We hope it looks like there's a big show at the Arts and Ed, because people can't find anywhere to park.
Yeah, well, the fire chief has already told me how many people I can have in there at one time, so that's what we're sticking to.
Well, we can walk through. I mean, it's just,
Just depends on how you read that number, Paul, right?
Yes, exactly.
which room at a time? The whole building? I mean, was that just like one area?
So I guess that's kind of what we're proposing with the structure. We have talked with the immediate neighbor to the side. She loves the idea. And I guess I could open up the floor to any questions. Cheryl, can you come up?
What's your time frame for,
We have already purchased it. We're starting the restoration now. And every muscle in my body hurts.
I'm really excited because I was a little worried about what would happen to the history of the Christmas Manor, and I think an art gallery will be an amazing contribution and addition to the downtown area. I'm really proud of you because you guys have been kind of toying around with art in this community for quite a while,
Yeah.
right? With your natural love for it and your artistic ability.
Yeah, and there's so much fun things happening going toward that way with Silver Vine.
Yes.
And, I mean, we're really trying to bring that culture, and we love that area to kind of end up being
Your
kind of
art
arts
district.
culture, our arts district.
Sure.
I mean, even with the Arts and Ed building.
And the
not
little
really knowing
theaters
where that's
getting there.
going with that back part, that sort of thing. So there are possibilities. This is just on the ground floor. We have a lot of big plans for the future, and it starts with the gallery. So our proposal is to turn this back into a commercial, and then we just kind of launch it from there. So, do you have any other questions?
This young lady back here has a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering, would you have classes in there for people from the community to come and learn things?
Yes. So one of the things we're going to do, the original plan was to have that back building turned into more of a classroom, lecture hall, place where we could do art, community art events. The problem with that is that it's up against and kind of overlaps some of the property around it. We do not have that 10-foot easement. So to build anything in there, we have to have a 1 hour fire rate. To have that quoted out, we're talking almost $200,000 to make that happen. Into a structure that we have really no idea the foundation, if it can handle the weight of what we were talking about building. Because all the wood would have to come out and steel structures go in. So what we're doing now is just scaling that back. We're still having open drawing nights. It's just going to be on a smaller scale. So we are going to have, and I'm going to say clothed models.
Thank you.
Clothed models. And we are going to have it so where we can have probably 6 to 7 people in there at a time. And we can do a couple hours of drawing nights a week.
So it would just be drawing, painting, doing that?
Not in the structure as it is now, just because of the room and space. Again, there are plans going forward in the future where we either acquire some larger structures or build larger structures where we can actually have something like that. But this is just kind of the launching pad. We've got big plans for art in the community, and this is kind of where it starts. But yeah, that will be
The
there.
idea I had in my head for about 10 years now.
Oh, yeah? So you'll be there first night, right? Yeah, we do plan on doing that.
All right, thank you.
And I
Thank you.
think too, just to note, this was already a C3 before the Davies bought it for their personal home, so it's
Right.
just kind of going back.
Mr. Schultz, Mr. Sullivan, you guys have any questions or comments from utilities? I mean, they'll get state-approved plans for any changes, so should be acceptable. Fire chief, do you have anything?
No, we've had a number of discussions, and I think at this point, they can move forward with what they've got. The state's holding them back with the departments under fire code.
Okay.
I would like to note out, I did receive one phone call from Emily Cogswell, 316 West Butler. I filled her in and she had no concerns, so.
good.
Okay, well, do we have anything to discuss, or any questions, comments, or?
No, I applaud you folks. I think it will certainly be a great addition to our community, and I think it's wonderful that you're taking this upon. I know it's a big task, and financially, I'm sure it's a big nut to crack, as my father always said.
All right, well, I guess we'll be looking for potentially a motion to recommend to city council the rezoning of this lot from R2 to R3, either to approve it or deny it.
C3.
I'm sorry, R2 to C3, excuse me. Correction, yep.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Andrew?
All right, I had Bob down for a second, was that right?
It was
Yeah,
good.
that's fine.
You got a couple.
Okay. Bob, you seconded.
It's a no-brainer.
All right, motion on the floor to recommend rezoning from R2 to C3. Carrie?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Tyson?
Yes.
Bryan?
Yep.
Dick?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
All right. Motion carried. We will recommend, I believe it's August 7th?
Yep, August 7th will be the next meeting.
Unless you're in a hurry, we could just throw it on tonight's agenda last minute. Look, Cheryl's like, please, can we get the paperwork to amend the agenda for tonight?
Ken,
I don't know why not.
have to run it by, just email Mark.
Yeah, can you? Do you have enough time this afternoon? We adjourn in 5 minutes.
I can try. I gotta go meet Brad.
We'll do that first.
Okay.
What are you doing at 5:30? Do you want to come back and do your presentation? I can
But-
probably do it for you.
Thought you wanted a short meeting tonight, Mayor, with your joint meeting.
I know, we kind of do, but that's okay. I don't want them having to wait for the state any longer.
I don't know the city council will do 3 readings on this.
Say it's been a while since we've done one of these.
I don't think they'll do 3 readings either. Maybe we put it on for the next, just so we can get it in the paper.
I would rather do that.
And then I don't think that they'll require 3 readings, because I don't think that there's gonna be anyone in the neighborhood that's upset or in the community about it or worried, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Probably be best to advertise it so that no one thinks we're
Yep.
just sneaking something through the neighborhood. Fair? Okay.
All right, Andrew, do you have any other items? Any potential items for next agenda yet?
The deadline for the August meeting is actually this Friday, and yes, it is kind of looking like I will have an item for that meeting.
Okay, well, maybe we'll see you guys next month then.
Sounds like might be Habitat for Humanity, so.
Okay.
And that'll be August 7th.
Any board members have anything else for this meeting? All right, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Andrew?
Motion on the floor to adjourn. Dick?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Carrie? Tyson?
Yes.
Brian?
Yep.
Jack?
Yes.
All right, meeting adjourned.
All right, thank you.